The show on the road. All right, everybody. It is Monday at 11-ish Mountain Time, which means that it is time for another exciting episode of This Week in Space. Yes. I'm your host with the most, Joan Emerson Bell. What up, Bryn? Nice to see you. It's been a minute. I'm your host with the most, Jonah Emerson Bell. I'm an astrologer, tarot reader, mental health counselor, and I like to show up here every Monday morning at 11-ish to give you the breakdown on what's going on in the celestial spheres. Before we get into the astrology of the week, I just want to let folks know that I'm going to be co-facilitating an Oracle Dream Retreat in Greece. This will be going on May 8th through 15th with the brilliant Sarah Janes. And in this retreat, we will visit several ancient sites, including Epidavros and the temple to Asclepius, the Greek god of healing and dreams, and as well as Delphi, and we'll be looking at the precognitive power of dreams. And if you want to check it out and get some more information, you can go to themysteries.org or follow at Sarah Jane's Dreaming on the Instagrams. It's going to be awesome. I did one last year in September, and I had a fantastic time. And I think this one is going to be a blockbuster. So yeah, check out themysteries.org or Sarah Jane's Dreaming to find out more information or to sign up. And I hope to see you all there. There's a couple spaces that are still left on this retreat. And yeah, so I hope y'all can make it. And to the homie in the chat who lives in Crete, hit me up. Maybe I'll come visit you. I've always wanted to go to Crete. I've never been there before, but it's on my list. So yeah, maybe I'll come see you in Crete. All right. Other than that, I'm available for tarot and astrology readings, blah, 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 trying in turbulent times. If you need some support during these weird times, hit me up. You can find me on Instagram at Blind Stallion Space Wizard or through my Instagram uh, at sorry, through my website at campwizardcamp.com. Um, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Amy. Hit me up. We should talk. All right. Moving right along, we're looking at this week in space for March the 9th, 2026 through March the 15th, 2026. And over the weekend, here in the US, an hour was stolen from us, which I am still recovering from and trying to get my sea legs with the time change. But, we're doing the best we can with what we got. Good morning, Jeff. Nice to see you, my friend. So, starting off the week, Tuesday, March the 10th, we have Venus in Aries, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. This is occurring at 4 degrees and 46 minutes. So we open the week with Venus, who just entered into Aries, which is a sign of their detriment. Before I leap into this, let me share my screen for the folks on the YouTube so that so I can figure out if my ancient eyes can figure out where to share my screen from. There we go. So the folks on the YouTube can follow along with the chart. So yeah, here we go. We got Venus in Aries at 4 degrees, making a sextile, this blue line right here, to Pluto over there at 4 degrees of Aquarius. So yeah, uh, Venus entered into Aries last Friday, March the 6th, which is a sign where Venus is in detriment. And then they formed a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune over the weekend. And now Venus comes into a supportive sextile with Pluto, which is maybe a nice thing. Pluto is a pretty intense outer planet, but a sextile is a supportive and communicative aspect. So Pluto is Pluto is a planet of initiation and power. So, with Venus having a hard go of it lately, this aspect to Pluto might help us to recognize some of the resources that we have available and the power that we can access in the Venusian areas of our lives. Even as Venus is moving through a section of the zodiac where they are a little under-resourced at the moment, they are far from home in Aries. So let's begin by considering the attributes of Aries that Venus is getting to learn from. Aries is a cardinal fire sign and is initiating and igniting. Aries starts the fire, con contrary to the Billy Joel song. And so fires start through friction and spark. So there is an element of challenge in the sign of Aries, and challenge provides the friction, which causes the spark that ignites the fire and burns the fuel. So Venus is at home in the opposing sign of Libra, which is about diplomacy and finding win-win solutions where everybody can be happy and relationships are maintained through dialogue and compromise. Aries, to the contrary, says, I'm not here to make friends, and I'm more interested in going after what I want and meeting my own needs and making things happen, even if it ruffles some other people's feathers. So, what can Venus learn here? And how can Pluto help out with that? Aries is about asserting oneself, and it takes courage to do that. Here, Venus gets to learn how to put their needs first and to go after what they want. They get to follow the path of desire, even if that causes conflict with others. Because conflict creates friction, friction creates a spark, spark creates a fire. And because desire and intimacy are vulnerable places, being direct and asserting oneself and going after what one wants may bring up some fear of rejection, fear of being hurt, fear of being exposed. And again, Aries helps us to learn courage because courage and fear are interrelated, and there is no courage without fear. And it is not just about ignoring other people's needs or just doing what you want whenever you want. Venus is relational and they deal with forming and maintaining relationships. However, it's important to remember that you and your wants, needs, and desires are a very important component in any relationship that you are involved in. And so it's important to honor your wants, needs, and desires in the context of that relationship, as well as acknowledging that other people have those things occurring for themselves as well. So now let's turn our attention to Pluto. Pluto is an underworld god ruling over the bardo, the liminal space between life and death. The underworld is a realm of the unknown and a place of fear. Pluto deals with the unconscious, everything that lives below the surface of normative consciousness, as well as the shadow. And the shadow, in a depth psychology sense, is all of the parts of ourselves, all of the impulses and urges and desires that we reject and repress so that we can be healthy, functioning members of society. However, all of this repressed material has got to go somewhere. Oftentimes it is projected outward onto other people who are then cast in the role of the villain in one's personal narrative, or this repressed material gets locked away in a dark corner of our psyche and festers in the unconscious until events catalyze it into an eruption, which either pulls us down into our personal underworld so we can process and integrate all of this repressed material. Or it erupts like a volcano and finds its way out into the daylight world so it can be dealt with and we can explore these urges and desires. So, with this sextile to Venus, Pluto asks us to look at the desires that we are too scared to accept and the places that we may hold fear about asserting ourselves and going after what we want. And this is not just about sex and sexuality and relationships. This applies to all Venusian areas of life. Beauty and aesthetic choices, creativity and creative practices, what we value and how we honor those values, or the ways that we may be scared to assert ourselves in sharing our creativity or expressing ourselves through our fashion choices. And I'm not saying, this is the day to like cut your hair and change your look or call your crush or share your portfolio online. I think this is more about examining the choices we are making that may suppress our desires in order to not rock the boat or to keep us safe from external judgments. And while safety is important, we also want to consider what the cost of safety might be. Consider if let consider if letting the soft animal of your body loves what it loves is actually a threat to our safety. And as we explore the tension between desire and fear, and safety and desire, fear and courage, that helps grant us access to our personal power. If we are not being run by unconscious programs that say, I can't do this or express that, it provides more agency and individual power. It grants us access to the power of the erotic, that which enlivens life and gives pleasure, not just through intimacy and sexuality, but through creativity and the sensual pleasures of being in a body that holds desire and experiences sensation, and that contains creative potential. And these characteristics are really powerful. And this is the power of Venus and of her child Eros, which is where we get the word erotic from. So Pluto helps us to make the unconscious conscious and allows us to access unacknowledged longings and desires. And this can lead to some feelings of obsession or looping thoughts as repressed material begins to surface. So just be aware of that. But this transit only lasts for a day or so. And if you notice some obsessive thoughts, see if you can follow them like threads back to the source to get in touch with the feelings that may lay buried in the psyche, so you can shine a bit of light on them and work to integrate what might be stirring in the depths. And as Pluto brings up fears associated with themes of self assertion and desire, this sextile with Venus and Aries can help us to access courage, which can help us to unlock personal power and lean into what we value and what makes us feel alive. And this is the initiation that Pluto offers to Venus during the sextile. Okay, moving right along to Tuesday, March the 10th. And this occurs a little after Venus's sextile to Pluto perfects, but we have Jupiter stationing direct in Cancer at 15 degrees and 5 arc minutes. And coming back to the chart over here for the folks on YouTube, we have Jupiter right here. It's still red because we can move this forward an hour and couple hours. Where'd you go? Duh, 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 duh. So anyway, yeah, anyway, Jupiter over here in Cancer, stationing direct on Tuesday, March the 10th. And so Jupiter has been retrograde since November the 11th of 2025, when they stationed retrograde at 25 degrees and 9 arc minutes of Cancer. And so Jupiter is a planet associated with hope, faith, wisdom, justice, and expansion. As Jupiter moved retrograde, these qualities become more internalized. Jupiter's retrograde provides an opportunity to rework our beliefs and our sense of justice. It also may have slowed some of our outward expansion or movement, or even blocked some of the opportunities we were hoping for. And that process provided an opportunity to turn inward and to consider what our motivations were for seeking these opportunities in the first place, and to reconsider if they were actually the thing that was right for us. Jupiter's retrograde is a time of inner expansion, to reconnect with one's inner wisdom. Zeus, the Greek version of Jupiter, swallowed the goddess Metis, who is the goddess of wisdom. This is a symbol of Zeus possessing and accessing inner wisdom. And during the retrograde, it was a time of turning inward and seeking counsel from the wise goddess Metis. This process of reflection and the reconnection with the wisdom we possess may have helped our plans to evolve and our understanding of what we want or what is best for us at a personal level to perhaps shift in some ways. Jupiter's expansive nature can lead to psychological inflation, the sense of grandiosity and extreme egocentricity. This inflation is not limited to individual egos. The prevailing myth of capitalism is about infinite expansion, which has given way to inflation, and not just in economies. But it is evident in the megalomaniacs that are steering the ship in many areas of public life. We are all witness to the damage that this inflation and the myth of infinite expansion are causing, from the inflation of AI to the inflation of war to the harm inflicted by unchecked consumption on the planet. The trend of rampant expansion and inflation leads to giant monstrosities or titans. And it was the titans that Zeus or Jupiter was born to overcome, to rebalance the world and to give birth to ordering principles and archetypal forms that help to guide our evolution as a species. Ideally, Jupiter's retrograde slows the expansion and introduces a sense of humility through inner reflection and reevaluation of our motives. When Jupiter turns direct, we return to a phase of outward expansion. However, through the retrograde journey, we may have come to a better understanding of the desires that propelled our need to expand in the first place. Through connecting with our inner wisdom, we may have revisited some of our goals or reworked some of our plans in order to move outward from a place of more clarity and integrity. As Jupiter turns direct, it is like Zeus offering his father, Kronos, a cup of wine mixed with the potion that Metis brewed to cause the Titan Kronos to vomit up the Olympians that he swallowed at their birth, to protect himself and to suppress these instincts. Zeus's brothers and sisters sat incubating in the belly of their father Kronos until they matured and the time was right to bring them forth into the world. This is very much like the ideas and desires that could not come to fruition in our own lives as Jupiter moved retrograde and our personal expansion hit a point of retraction. This was a period of maturity where ideas and goals that were not fully formed or did not have the structure to hold and facilitate them needed to be retracted and reworked until they were mature enough to be brought back up. And some of these ideas or goals may not have been right for us, even though we may have wanted them so desperately. And again, success without a strong container can lead to inflation and hubris, which was one of the great sins of Greek mythology. The archetypal psychologist James Hillman writes that hubris is a human failure to remember the gods. When we forget or neglect the gods, we extend beyond the limits set by the gods, uh, that the gods set on mortals. Limits given mainly by Zeus through his union with Metis, with that uh, uh, symbol of wisdom. And as we turn inward through Jupiter's retrograde and consider our relationship to the ordering principles symbolized by the gods and reconnect with the inner wisdom of Metis, we may recognize that what we thought we wanted may not ultimately be the best thing for us. So Jupiter's retrograde helps to rebalance systems, to bring that sense of inflation into check, and to realign ourselves with an inner sense of integrity and justice. Jupiter's retrograde process brings us back into balance with ourselves. Jupiter helps to expand our inner world to come into relationship with the greater outer world. In this way, Jupiter helps us to connect with and enter into the world outside of ourselves. However, in order to do this, we periodically need to revisit our inner world and the wisdom that lives within. to reevaluate our motivations and the visions that drive us to expand in the first place. Um, and Jupiter helps us to balance this relationship between the inner and outer world. And this balance is incredibly important. As Jupiter moves direct, uh, we begin to bring what we have learned about ourselves and what was reworked during the retrograde out into the external world. It may provide us with some conscious clarity around what we need or what we want, as well as what we want to grow for ourselves in the areas of life that we want to expand into. It also might help us to have a new perspective on what may have felt blocked or and to release some stifled creative energy. Jupiter moving direct may provide opportunities to begin new projects or to forge a new path. We may find that we are called to revisit plans and projects that had been put on hold, and oftentimes we may have a new perspective on how to pursue these opportunities and new insight on what the end goal should look like and how we want to do these things that we are striving for. We may realize that what we thought we wanted when these ideas were initiated may not have been good for us and may not be what we want now. The retrograde process may have invited a reworking of some of these plans that allow for a shift in direction and potentially a better and more fulfilling outcome. So, Jupiter's retrograde occurs in Cancer, which is a cardinal water sign that speaks to the emotions that motivate us to act. Jupiter in Cancer says, what you care for will care for you. And this retrograde was an invitation to reconsider what it is we care about and how we care for those things. It also provides us an opportunity to reconnect with the emotional source that drives us to move out into the world. This process of returning to the emotional source, checking on its condition, and drinking from its spring may have provided us with valuable information about our motivations and what is most important and vital to us. We may have reconsidered some of the things we care about and the ways in which we show that care, as well as how we honor and show up for the things that we care deeply for, and the ways that we protect the things that are meaningful and precious to us. As Jupiter begins moving direct, we can begin to bring that understanding out into the external world and to express that care through our actions and to practice expanding that feeling of care beyond ourselves and into more areas of our life and into the world that we engage with. Which brings us to the last transit of the week. This is a kind of a light astrological week, and you know what? I welcome that. Let me shift my chart over here. All right. The last transit that we'll be talking about today occurs on Sunday, March the 15th, when Mars in Pisces is conjunct with Mercury, who's retrograde in Pisces. This is occurring at 10 degrees and 2 arc minutes of that mutable water sign. So over here, we got Mercury retrograde at 10 degrees, Mars direct at 10 degrees and 2 arc minutes. And there we go. Jupiter is finally stationed direct and is moving forward. It's moved forward 1 minute over this week. So Mercury still all up in Gatorade. And today, Sunday the 15th, they conjunct Mars. So Mercury retrograde is a time for slowing down and turning inward to access the information from our internal worlds. And retrogrades are also a time when planets act unpredictably. And Mercury, who rules communication, thinking, local travel, and exchange, brings an unpredictable quality to all of these areas of life. The most notable ones are travel, where things don't go according to plan and flights are delayed, or travel plans are disrupted. And we're seeing this at airports around America as a TSA shortage is leading to astronomically long security lines over the spring break week. Also, communication becomes unpredictable. Text gets sent to the wrong person. The internet drops. Emails bounce back. It's important to read over your emails and make sure that you're sending them to the right person. You know what I'm saying? And so all of these unpredictable events conspire to allow us to slow down and to turn inward. However, today Mercury retrogrades back into Mars and Pisces. Mars is a planet of action and conflict. It is rash and impulsive. In the mutable water sign of Pisces, Mars is motivated to act through emotion and the desire to connect with something bigger than oneself. The frustrations created by the little glitches that the Mercury retrograde causes may inspire Mars to act or to act out based on frustration or the collective anxieties of the moment. Mercury is neither masculine nor feminine, nor neither benefic nor malefic. They are a trickster and a chameleon, and they take on the characteristics of whatever planet they are in contact with. And so, with the conjunction with Mars, they take on the malefic characteristics of Mars. And I see Mercury kind of like a hype man in this situation, getting Mars all amped up. And when these two get together, it can inspire a lot of shit talking and verbal contact. I see Mercury sort of like standing by Mars, being like, "Oh my God, did you hear what he just said about your mom?" And just like getting Mars like angrier and angrier until something pops off. And then Mercury just kind of like giggles. And that's like the trickster aspect of Mercury. So Mars is a blade. And when they get with Mercury, it can cause our words to be cutting or to penetrate deep into the core of things. And this can be beneficial if we use this blade to sort of cut through the bullshit or get to the heart of the matter or a situation. But on the flip side, this combo can end up saying some pretty hurtful things. The rhetoric in the political sphere may become more intense today and more insensitive, if that's even possible. And there may be more threats and warmongering coming out of politicians. And on a personal level, the frustrations that have been building during Mercury's retrograde process may turn into arguments, disagreements, passive aggressive comments, or backhanded statements. So just be aware of how you speak to others and how you respond to what others say to you. Little comments can activate deeper issues, ambient anxieties, or pent up frustrations, and easily become something bigger than one intended. And Mars has a way of like picking fights that drag them into something bigger than what they thought they were going to get into like more of an initiatory process, which maybe is not what you want to go through with a coworker or in line at the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you just want to like get your business done and move along and not have to go into verbal conflict or combat that pulls you deeper into a situation that then becomes initiatory in some way. So Mars has a lot to do with personal will and can be a little self-centered or egotistical. And Mars has a tendency to go for self, and it can kind of miss the bigger picture. Even in the sign of Pisces, which is focused on compassion and integration. These qualities soften Mars a little bit, but Mars is still going to be Mars. And in this mutable water sign, they are motivated by belief, which is a feeling. And it can get Mars can get locked into ideas that they have become emotionally attached to. And if you've ever tried to have a discussion with somebody who is emotionally attached to their ideas, it's not a very productive conversation. That's why talking religion and politics in bars is generally discouraged. So you might want to keep that in mind too. If you have the wherewithal to, in the moment, to try and consider what is the best possible outcome for this conversation, and then see if it's worth it to expend that energy. If there is something that is sensitive and needs to be discussed, see if it can wait until after the weekend. If not, then just remember that people are probably going to feel a little on edge today, and they may be looking for conflict as a way to discharge some of the frustrations that they are holding. On a positive side, Mars is a planet of courage, and Mercury deals with speaking and communication. Their conjunction can give us the courage to say what needs to be said or to deliver difficult truths. And again, this might ruffle some feathers, but sometimes things just need to be said. And Mars helps us to be brave enough to communicate the things that might be hard to hear. Pisces is a sign that deals with the bigger picture, with compassion and integration. And the traditional ruler is Jupiter, who is a planet of justice. So there may be some motivation today to take a stand for what we feel is right, just, and compassionate. And motivation to take a stand against war, genocide, and injustice. But again, with this transit, you want to choose your battles. And remember that the idea of right speech in a Buddhist sense is speech that is both true and useful. So if we are saying something that is true and the person that we are talking to can't hear it or feels attacked and gets defensive, then that speech is not that useful. And that person is not able to receive the truth, that truth that you are trying to deliver. So consider how you can say what needs to be said and express your truth in compassionate ways where it can actually be received. If not, it's not that useful and you're just kind of wasting your breath. And instead of just like, dropping bombs on somebody or cussing them out because it makes you feel better to vent your frustration on somebody else who you may view as an adversary. And again, even if it's true, cussing somebody out is not going to be very useful. Another beneficial aspect of this transit is it can help to provide mental stimulation, energy, and focus. So if you have any projects that you are working on that require some mental energy, this is the transit for you, my friends. It's a good time to focus and do intellectual work, and it may provide stamina for writing projects and focus for intellectual activities. This is a good day to engage in projects that keep your mind occupied, not doom scrolling, which will probably just increase your frustration. See if you can engage in some activity where you can direct your mental energy towards something productive or towards a longer term goal. This is a good transit for digging in and getting to the heart of the problem or sharpening your ideas and your points of view. And with that, my friends, that is all the astro weather that is fit to print. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Oh yeah, Gina Maria saying good day to get your taxes done. Spot on. Maybe that's the day that I will reserve for taxes because I keep putting them off. Woo! All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate y'all. Let me stop the share here. And yeah, again, my name is John Emerson Bell. I'm a consulting astrologer, tarot reader, mental health counselor. I'm available for tarot and astrology readings. And yeah, I like to do this every single Monday at 11-ish a.m. Mountain Time. And again, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for your attention, and I hope this helps somebody somewhere get a little context in this wacky and wild world that we get the pleasure to be living in. And yeah, that's it. Check out thedreammysteries.org, and I hope to see you all in Greece for this prophetic dream retreat, May 8th through 15th. And yeah, till then. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, may the force be with you. Bye now.